Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Average Joe Magic. So today we have a sweet but likely bad build of your traditional Abzan Midrange. After the banning of Astrolabe, we've seen Eldrazi, we've seen some Burn, and even some Jund jump into some of those top three decks. I've always been a huge fan of the Abzan shell. I think it's really cool, and we'll go over some of the ways that I have built this. So first and foremost, we can take a look at this land count. 22. Generally, your mid-range Jund decks are, they usually have about 24 lands, give or take. You'll see here we're kind of light on the white. It's mostly green-black with just a white splash. Also, you'll notice we have Dark Confidant here. Dark Confidant is going to be our pseudo Renin 6. Also, generally with Dark Confidant, you want to run some more lands, but because we have Noble Hierarchs in this package, as well as Grim Flayers to kind of set up those Dark Confidant flips, I thought it was okay to go ahead and run a few less lands to kind of pack in a few more spells and or threats. Two-path, one thing about Abzan that I've always thought was in contention with the game plan of a mid-range grindy deck. So a lot of these Thoughtseize Inquisition decks are usually looking to put you light on resources, and Path kind of doesn't have that same game plan, right? So it's going to take them down a creature, but it's going to put them up on mana, which is generally not where you want to be, but the upside to Path is it's pretty unconditional removal, which is something that's really, really important in some of these mid-range decks. 3 push, 4-2 Inquisition Thoughtseize split. We're already going to be taking some life loss here, especially with the Dark Confidant hitting some of these bigger numbers. So 2 Thoughtseize seems like the right split there. The Noble Hierarch for some mana fixing. Also, the Exalted Trigger is pretty good. Also helps us power out some of these 3-drops earlier, so your Lingering Souls, your Liliana the Veils early, as well as your 4-drops a little bit early as well. So I think this is a really good inclusion. A lot of people will probably have issue or take issue with that, as maybe this could just be a couple other lands and maybe some more spells. But I was going for a more junk feel than just your traditional lean Abzan mid-range deck. For Bob, Abrupt Decay, Assassin's Trophy as some all-around removal, Grim Flare, main beater right here. 2-2 Trampler at worst, potentially getting into 4-4 range as we start filling up the graveyard, and also helps us set up these Dark Confidant flips. Lingering Souls, because we're playing Abzan, works really well with Grim Flare, works really well with Liliana the Veil. Just a solid Abzan staple. We have one last hope, and this is to also kind of be a pseudo Renin 6 to ping those smaller creatures, as well as bring back some of our threats if needed. Also, this Liliana Veil threatens to just take over the game completely with these zombie tokens. Kaya's Guile, this is kind of our K-command flex spot that you would normally see in Jund. It's obviously not K-command as we look at it here. But it has some really good modes, all of them generally pretty relevant. The life gain here is super relevant, especially with, again, some of these higher costs. One of Maelstrom Pulse, just a good sorcery speed catch-all. Solemn Visitor, I think this is just a really sweet planeswalker. Works really well with Lingering Souls, also give you a little extra threat density, and the ultimate here also can take over a game in a resource-light format. We also have 2 Siege Rhinos, right, because they always come in pairs. I just love this card, right? I think that Modern has long outgrown Siege Rhino, but I say all of that to say that it still competes very well with Thought-Knot Seers and Matter Reshapers. It is not something that Eldrazi can necessarily easily deal with. It's just a really sweet, and the Lightning Helix effect on it as well, just really, really solid. As we go over here into the sideboard, You'll notice some classic white card sideboard specials, Celestial Purge, Rest in Peace, Stony Silence. I've tried to vary up some of the graveyard and artifact hate, so you'll see for graveyard hate we have 1 Rest in Peace, 1 Silent Gravestone, 2 Jailers. All of these for different scenarios versus different graveyard decks as they interact with our deck differently. For our artifact, we have Collector Oof and 2 Stony Silences. Require different types of removals here. Likely opponent won't have all of the above, right? Choke for some anti-control cards. Fulminator Mage, Big Mana, Amulet Titan, Tron, that kind of stuff. Also, fun fact for those of you who didn't know, Stony Silence and Oof also double up into the Tron Hate package. And then we have Celestial Purge, just some good solid black-red removal. Mirror stuff, Jund stuff, Burn stuff, Storm stuff, just a overall really flexible card. And then we have 2 Hex Drinkers. This is for removal heavy decks. This can get out of control very quickly and be impossible to beat. So I think there's an argument to be made that this should just be in the main deck and I should take out these Noble Hierarchs, add in another land, and put in these 2 Hex Drinkers. I think there's also an argument that I just shouldn't be playing Abzan, right? But that being said, we wouldn't be average Joes if we played only good decks. So with that, let's go ahead and get into our first match.